I want you to imagine this asterisk. You're sitting in a beautiful church. White roses everywhere. Soft music playing. Everyone around you is smiling, crying happy tears. And then the bride walks in. You recognize the dress. You helped her pick it out. You recognize the flowers. She called you at midnight asking which ones looked more romantic. But then you see the groom. And your entire world stops. Because standing at that altar, in a navy blue suit, with the biggest smile on his face, is the man you loved for 4 years. The man you thought was the love of your life. And the woman walking toward him is your best friend of 15 years. They both knew I was coming. They both sent me an invitation. And I came. Oh, I came. But not for the reason they expected. My name is Claire. And this is the story of how my best friend and my ex-boyfriend destroyed me. And how I made sure they never forgot it. Let me take you back to where this all began. I met Sarah when we were 7 years old. 2nd grade. Mrs. Patterson's classroom. She sat next to me during art class and told me my drawing of a horse looked like a melting dog. I told her her drawing looked like a crime scene. We've been best friends ever since. For 15 years Sarah was my person. My emergency contact. The one I called when I got my first period at school and didn't know what to do. The one who stayed on the phone with me for 3 hours when my dad got diagnosed with diabetes. The one who held my hand through every single hard moment of my life. People used to say we were the same person split into 2 bodies. We even went to the same college. Lived in the same dorm. Shared clothes, food, secrets. I trusted Sarah with everything. And I mean everything. So when I met Daniel in our junior year of college, of course I told her about him first. I remember the exact moment I saw him. It was at a campus coffee shop. He was sitting alone reading a book. An actual physical book, not his phone. And he had this calm, quiet energy about him that just drew me in. I walked up to him. I don't even know why. I'm not usually that bold. I said, "What are you reading?" He looked up, smiled and said, "Something that just got a lot less interesting." I know. It sounds like a movie line. But I fell for it completely. We exchanged numbers. He texted me that same night. By the end of the week, we were inseparable. I introduced him to Sarah about 2 weeks later. I remember she hugged him and said, "She talks about you constantly. You better be worth it." He laughed and said, "I'm going to try my best." At the time I thought that was sweet. Looking back now, I should have paid more attention to the way she looked at him when she said it. Daniel and I dated for 4 years. 4 years of holidays together. Road trips, lazy Sunday mornings, inside jokes, and quiet moments that felt like forever. He met my parents. My mom loved him immediately. My dad made him watch 3 hours of football before deciding he was acceptable. I thought we were building something real. But somewhere around year 3 things started to shift. He got busier. More distracted. His texts got shorter. Our dates got more infrequent. When I tried to talk about the future, he'd change the subject with a joke or a kiss or a, "Let's not think about that right now." I talked to Sarah about it constantly. She would sit with me in her apartment, tea in hand, and she would listen. She would nod. She would say all the right things. "He's probably just stressed with work, Claire. You're so good together, don't overthink it. He loves you. I can see it when he looks at you." I believed her every time. Because why wouldn't I? She was my best friend. She was supposed to be on my side. Then one evening everything collapsed. Daniel asked me to meet him at the same coffee shop where we first met. I thought it was romantic. I even put on the green dress he always said was his favorite. I walked in smiling. He was not smiling. He sat me down, held my hands across the table, which I now know is the universal sign that someone is about to destroy you, and he said, "Claire, I love you. I genuinely do. But I've been doing a lot of thinking and I don't think I'm in love with you anymore. I think we want different things. And I think you deserve someone who is completely, fully 100% there for you. And I'm sorry, but that's not me." I sat there. I couldn't speak. I couldn't cry. I just sat there. He paid for the coffees we never touched and left. I called Sarah the second I got to my car. She picked up on the first ring. She said, "Oh, Claire, I'm so sorry. Come over right now." And I did. She held me while I cried for 4 hours. She told me I was better off, that he didn't deserve me, that I was going to be okay. I had no idea she already knew exactly why he broke up with me. I had no idea she had known for weeks. I had no idea. Because she was the reason. For the first 2 months after the breakup, Sarah was perfect. She came over with food. She dragged me to workout classes. She made me laugh when I didn't think I could. She was, by every measure, the perfect best friend. I was healing. Slowly, but I was healing. Then 3 months after the breakup, she called me. Her voice sounded off. Nervous. She said she needed to tell me something important. That she had been keeping something from me and she couldn't keep it anymore. My stomach dropped immediately. She said, "Claire, I've been seeing someone." I was confused. She had been single for over a year. I should have been happy for her. I said, "That's great. Who is he?" Long pause. "Claire, it's Daniel." The world went silent. I literally felt the blood drain from my face. I said, "What?" She said, "It started after the breakup, I swear. We ran into each other at a gym and we just started talking and I hung up. I sat in my apartment for 2 days barely moving. But then, I started thinking. Something wasn't adding up. Because the gym she was talking about? It was 40 minutes from Daniel's apartment. He had no reason to be there. But it was 5 minutes from her place. And then I remembered something. About 8 months before the breakup, I had surprised Daniel at his apartment with dinner. He didn't know I was coming. When I knocked, there was a long pause before he answered. His hair was slightly damp. He said he'd just showered. But on the counter I saw a coffee mug. 2 coffee mugs. He said his roommate had been over. His roommate who, at that exact time I now remembered, was out of town for a work conference. I had forgotten that detail completely. Until now. I called one of our mutual friends, a girl named Priya, who had always been quiet and observant about things the rest of us missed. I told her what Sarah had told me, that it started after the breakup. Priya went quiet for a long moment. Then she said, very carefully, "Claire, I don't know how to tell you this, but I saw them together. At a restaurant. It was about 6 weeks before Daniel broke up with you. I thought maybe I was misunderstanding the situation, so I didn't say anything. But it didn't look like just friends. 6 weeks before. Sarah had sat with me the night of my breakup telling me everything was going to be okay. She already knew. She had been with him for at least 6 weeks before he even ended things with me. Every phone call, every cup of tea, every hug, it had all been a performance. And the most devastating part? She never actually apologized. When I confronted her, she said, "Claire, feelings aren't something you can control. I didn't plan this. And I told you as soon as I felt like we were serious. I thought that was the right thing to do." She thought that was the right thing to do. The right thing. I didn't respond. I blocked her number, her email, her social media. I removed her from my life as completely as I could. And I started over. Alone. For 11 months, I heard nothing from either of them. I thought it was over. Then a cream-colored envelope arrived at my door. Inside was a wedding invitation. Sarah and Daniel were getting married, and they had invited me. I read it 3 times before I understood what I was looking at. I sat down on my kitchen floor, and then something happened that I didn't expect. I stopped crying. I got very, very calm, and I started to think. My first instinct was to throw the invitation away, block them, move on, be the bigger person. But then I thought about something. Why did they invite me? They had to have known how I would feel. They had to have known it would hurt. So why send the invitation at all? I talked to Priya about it. She had also received an invitation and she had a theory. She said, "I think they want you there so they can see you watch them be happy. So they can feel like they won. Like the story is over and they came out on top." And that made something shift inside me. Because if they wanted a performance, I could give them a performance. But not the one they were expecting. Let me be very clear about something. I did not plan anything cruel. I did not plan anything illegal. I did not go there to ruin their lives. I went there with 3 things. A voice recorder in my purse, a printed document in an envelope, and the truth. I had spent the 11 months since our falling out doing something very productive with my anger. I had gone to therapy. I had rebuilt my confidence. I had gotten a promotion at work. I had made new friends. But I had also done some research. Because Daniel, I discovered, was not just a man who had cheated on me. Daniel was a man with a pattern. Through conversations with people I had quietly reconnected with, I found out that I was not the first. Before me, he had dated a woman named Jessica for 3 years. She had told her friends before they broke up that Daniel had been acting distant and secretive, that he had become close with one of her friends, that the breakup came suddenly and without real explanation. Sound familiar? I found Jessica. It wasn't hard. We had 3 mutual connections on LinkedIn. I reached out. I told her my story. She replied within an hour. "Oh my God," she wrote. "I've been waiting for years for someone to finally say this out loud." We talked on the phone for 2 hours. Her story was almost identical to mine. I asked her if she would be willing to write a brief statement, just her experience in her own words. No exaggeration, just facts. She said yes without hesitating. That statement was in the envelope in my purse, along with screenshots. Because here's the thing about people who lie and cheat. They often don't cover their tracks as well as they think. Daniel had, at one point during our relationship, added me as an authorized user on a shared notes app we used for planning trips together. He never removed me, and he had kept using it. There were notes in there that were not about trips. Times, dates, locations. Initialed with S. Stored quietly in a shared app he had completely forgotten I still had access to. I had screenshots of all of it. I had not shown them to anyone. I had not posted them online. I had not sent them to anyone. I was saving them for exactly the right moment. And that moment was their wedding day. I wore black, not as a statement, or maybe a little as a statement. It was an elegant black dress, tasteful, not over the top. I did my hair and my makeup carefully. I looked composed and calm and completely put together, which I knew would be more powerful than anything dramatic. I arrived at the church exactly 10 minutes before the ceremony began. I smiled at the guests who recognized me. I hugged people warmly. I acted like everything was completely normal. I saw Daniel's mother near the entrance. She looked startled when she saw me. I kissed her cheek and said, "You look beautiful. Congratulations." She looked like she wanted to say something. She didn't. I found a seat near the middle. Close enough to be seen, far enough not to be obvious. Priya was already there. She sat next to me. She squeezed my hand. "You okay?" she whispered. "Better than okay," I said. The music began. Daniel walked out first with his groomsmen. He was scanning the crowd before he even reached the altar. I knew he was looking for me. When his eyes found me, I smiled. Just a small, calm smile. His expression flickered for just 1 second. Then Sarah came in. She was beautiful, I won't lie. The dress was stunning. The flowers were everything she had described to me on those late-night calls when I helped her plan what I had no idea was her own wedding. She walked down the aisle. Her eyes found me almost immediately. I smiled at her too. She looked away quickly. The ceremony began. And it was when the officiant said those words, those specific words, that I stood up. If anyone here knows of any reason why these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace. The room went completely silent. And I stood up. Every single head turned toward me. I heard gasps. I heard someone whisper my name. Daniel's face went white. Sarah's jaw dropped. And in that silence, with every eye in that church on me, I spoke clearly and calmly. I said, "I don't object to this marriage. They clearly deserve each other." Pause. But before this becomes official, Daniel's previous partner, Jessica, who he treated the exact same way, asked me to share her story. And I have documentation of when this relationship actually began, which was not after the breakup, as everyone here has been told. I looked directly at Sarah's parents. I think the people in this room who love your daughter deserve to know what kind of foundation this marriage is built on. Not to stop it, just so everyone is walking in with the truth. I placed the envelope on the seat beside me. I looked at Priya. She nodded, and I walked out. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I didn't look back. I walked out of that church with my head completely straight. And as the doors closed behind me, I heard the noise begin inside. Priya texted me before I even reached my car. She said, "You should hear what's happening in here." I told her I didn't need to. I meant it. I drove home. I made tea. I sat by my window. And for the first time in almost 2 years, I felt completely free. Over the next few days, I heard things through people I knew. The ceremony had continued. They did get married. I want to be clear about that. I was never trying to stop their wedding. I was never trying to destroy them. But Sarah's parents had asked questions. Hard questions. And Daniel had not answered them well. I heard that the reception was tense. That conversations happened behind closed doors. That Sarah's mother cried, and not from happiness. About a week later, I received a message from Daniel. He said I was bitter and vindictive, and that I had humiliated them in front of everyone they loved. I read it once. Then I deleted it. A few days after that, Sarah sent a message. She said, "I hope you're proud of yourself." I replied with 2 words. I am. And I blocked her. Here's what I want you to take away from this story. I didn't go to that wedding because I wanted Daniel back. I was over him long before that envelope arrived. I didn't go because I wanted to ruin Sarah's special day. I went because they invited me into a story they thought I had no power in. They thought I would either not come and they could feel like I was hiding, or I would come and fall apart and they could feel like they had one. They never considered the third option, that I would walk in completely whole, that I would speak the truth quietly and clearly and without cruelty, and that I would walk out the same way. There's something nobody tells you about betrayal. The people who betray you are counting on your silence. They are counting on your embarrassment and your heartbreak keeping you quiet. The most powerful thing you can ever do is simply refuse to be quiet. My name is Claire. I stood up at the wedding, and I have never sat down since. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you completely trusted, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. You are not alone. And if you want more stories like this, real, raw, and honest, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because there are more stories coming, and they are all worth hearing. See you in the next one.